morning all of you. This is class 12, subject biology, chapter 11, biotechnology, principles and processes, and this is lecture number 3 of this chapter. Previous lecture we were doing about the features of cloning vector. So we will continue those only, and we will do about the selectable marker, which is a feature of cloning vector, and also cloning sites. After this we will also do about insertional inactivation. So let's start with selectable marker. These selectable markers are called marker gene because there are some genes which are used as selectable marker. So selectable marker are basically gene that helps to select transformants and eliminate the non-transformants. So what are these transformant here? Let's see. If a piece of DNA is introduced in a host bacterium, it is called transformation. Okay, the process of introducing a piece of DNA in any host cell, in any host bacterium basically, is called transformation. And such bacterium means in which that piece of DNA has been introduced, that bacterium or that cell is called transformant, okay, or transformed cell. And if transformation does not take place, it is non-transformant. So cell in which transformation does not take place, that cell is called non-transformed cell or non-transformant. So here, with the help of these selectable markers, we can select transformants from non-transformant. Means we can select that in which bacterium cells that foreign piece of DNA has been introduced, and in which bacterium cells that DNA has not been introduced, right? With the help of these genes we can select that. Now you can see here what is a transformant and what is non-transformant. So this is recombinant plasmid. Recombinant plasmid means plasmid having foreign piece of DNA. And this is E. coli host cell, in which we need to transform this, we need to introduce this recombinant plasmid, right? So if recombinant plasmid is introduced in this cell, then this cell is called transformed cell or transformant. And if this recombinant plasmid is not introduced in that cell, that cell will be called non-transformant or non-transformed cell. Like this, you can say this cell is where no recombinant plasmid is present. We can say this cell is non-transformed cell, okay, or non-transformant. So with the help of markers, selectable markers, we can select transformants from non-transformants. Selectable marker of E. coli include genes encoding resistant to antibiotics like ampicillin. So we are saying that what are selectable markers? These are basically genes. So which genes are used in E. coli for selecting the transformants from non-transformant? Some antibiotic resistant genes. The genes which provide antibiotic resistance power to that plasmid are used as selectable marker. And these antibiotic resistant genes are used as selectable marker like ampicillin, antibiotic resistant gene, chloramphenicol, tetracycline and kanamycin. So genes responsible for providing the resistance power against these antibiotics are used as selectable markers. Normal E. coli cells have no resistance against these antibiotics because normal E. coli cell have no resistance power. But when we modify the E. coli cell, we add these antibiotic resistance gene so that we can use these genes as selectable markers. Okay, that's why these selectable markers are useful, because normal E. coli cell have no such genes. Only the modified one, which are used as cloning vector, have these resistance power. Now next feature of a cloning vector is cloning sites. So cloning sites are the sites where we will attach that foreign DNA into the vector, okay, the site. So to link the alien DNA, the vector needs a single or very few recognition sites for a restriction enzyme. Restriction enzyme because the restriction enzyme will cut the vector DNA at a specific site, and only on that site the alien piece of DNA can be attached, right? So we can say the cloning sites are the sites where the restriction enzyme will cut the vector DNA, and or we can say that recognition site for the restriction enzyme, because that restriction enzyme will cut only at the recognition site, right? So the recognition sites are basically cloning sites, right? Because only on those sites we can link the alien piece of DNA with vector. Now more than one recognition sites generates several fragments. So consider we are having this plasmid as a vector, okay, and this is one recognition site for any restriction enzyme. You can take example of EcoR1. So EcoR1 is a restriction enzyme which will cut this vector here, okay, this is recognition site for that. Then when this EcoR1 will cut this vector DNA, it will produce a DNA fragment like this, and here we can introduce our foreign piece of DNA from here to here, right? Now if there will be more recognition site, more than one recognition site, then what will happen? Like one recognition site is here and another is present here, then more than one fragment of DNA will be produced. Now this EcoR1 will cut this vector DNA from here, from both these sides, okay, and what will happen? More than two fragments, more than one fragment, it can be two, or based on the recognition site it can be more, okay. So these fragments of vector will be produced, and if these fragments will be produced, it will complicate the process, okay, it will complicate the cloning of gene. Cloning of gene means attachment of that alien DNA with the vector, right? That's why usually a single recognition site is present for any restriction enzyme in a cloning vector. Ligation of alien DNA is carried out at a restriction site present in one of the two antibiotic resistance genes. Now, antibiotic resistance genes. These genes we were using as selectable markers also, right? And these are having recognition site for restriction enzymes also, right? That's why ligation of alien piece of DNA also occur in this region, in this antibiotic resistance genes region, okay. So for example, ligation of a foreign DNA at BAMH1 site. BAMH1 is a restriction enzyme, okay, and BAMH1 site, it means the recognition site for this enzyme, okay. So at BAMH1 site of tetracycline resistance gene in vector PBR322. So PBR322 is a vector, and in that vector there is a gene which provide resistance power against tetracycline, and BAMH1 is having recognition site in that tetracycline resistance gene in vector PBR322, right? Let me clear it. Like this is vector PBR322, okay, and you have already made the structure of vector PBR322, and you must remember it that this is the site for the tetracycline resistance gene, okay. This gene is tetracycline resistance gene. And here in this tetracycline resistance gene, BAMH1 site is also present. Okay, in this gene, recognition site for BAMH1 is also present. That's why what will happen if we cut our vector DNA with BAMH1 enzyme, then obviously it will cut the DNA from this site, right? And the foreign piece of DNA, the alien DNA, will also be attached, will also attach here only, right? Means in this tetracycline resistance gene. So our alien piece of DNA will get attached here in this region. Means in this gene which is providing resistance power against tetracycline, right? As a result, recombinant plasmid is formed. Recombinant plasmid will be formed if alien piece of DNA will be introduced here. If ligation does not occur, it is called non-recombinant plasmid. So it is not necessary always that if we are doing this process and we are just adding some restriction enzyme, some vectors, and with the alien piece of DNA here. Okay, so it is not always necessary that all the vectors are ligating with the alien piece of DNA. Okay, it always it doesn't occur. So some of the vectors do not ligate with alien piece of DNA, and those vectors or those plasmids are called non-recombinant plasmids. Okay, the plasmids in which that alien piece of DNA will be ligated will be called recombinant plasmids, and in those it will not be ligated will be called non-recombinant plasmid. This is diagram of vector PBR322, and you can see all these features which we are discussing are present in this cloning vector. Like this is origin of replication, which is called ORI, and these are different recognition sites for different restriction enzymes. Okay, and here you can see this tetracycline resistant genes, and this is ampicillin resistant gene, right? Now you can see this BAMH1 is one enzyme which is having recognition site in tetracycline resistant gene. Okay, so if we use this enzyme for cutting this plasmid, then the alien piece of DNA will be introduced here, means in tetracycline resistant gene. And if we use PVU1 or PST1 for cutting our vector, then our alien piece of DNA will be ligated here in ampicillin resistant gene, right? Now what will happen due to this ligation of alien piece of DNA in any one of the antibiotic resistant gene? What will happen when a foreign DNA is inserted within a gene of bacteria? That gene is inactivated, right? If alien piece of DNA is introduced in the tetracycline resistant region, then obviously that gene will get inactivated, because from that gene has been disturbed, the sequence has been disturbed, so that gene will be inactivated, and it is called insertional inactivation, because this inactivation of that gene is due to insertion of alien piece of DNA. That's why it is called insertional inactivation. Here the recombinant plasmids lose tetracycline resistance. So obviously, because that gene has been inactivated, so the resistance power against tetracycline will be will not be there in that plasmid now, right? So that plasmid lost the tetracycline resistance power due to insertion of foreign DNA, you can say, right? So this is insertional inactivation. When the plasmids are introduced into E. coli cells, three types of cells are obtained. Three types of cells are non-transformants, transformants with a non-recombinant plasmid, and transformants with recombinant plasmid. These three types of cells we will obtain. So non-transformants are the cells which have no plasmid. Okay, means no plasmid has been introduced in those cells. So those cells are non-transformants. So they are not resistant to either tetracycline or ampicillin, because normally E. coli cells are having no resistance power. Okay, that's why these are not resistant. These non-transformant cells are not resistant to either of the antibiotic, right? And transformants with non-recombinant plasmid. Non-recombinant plasmid means the plasmid in which alien piece of DNA is not ligated. Okay, so the cells having that kind of plasmid will have resistant power for both the antibiotics, because in the plasmid we are having the resistance power for tetracycline as well as for ampicillin, right? So if such a plasmid will be introduced in any host cell, in E. coli cell, then obviously that plasmid will bring that resistance power for that cell. Okay, so these cells will be resistant to both antibiotics. So what are these cells? These are transformants with non-recombinant plasmid. Now third type of cells which we obtain and which are useful to us, for which we are doing this complete recombinant DNA technology, are the cells transformants with recombinant plasmid. Recombinant plasmid is present here. Recombinant plasmid means alien piece of DNA has been ligated here in plasmid, and you know that due to ligation of that alien piece of DNA, one of the antibiotic resistance power will be lost. Okay, so one of the antibiotic resistance gene will be inactivated here, and obviously the cells will be now resistant to only one antibiotic. The other antibiotic for which that gene is not inactivated. Okay, so if we were talking about the tetracycline, that in the tetracycline resistant region we have introduced that alien piece of DNA, right? That's why these cells will have resistant power to ampicillin also. Okay, and it can be opposite also. If we introduce our alien piece of DNA in the ampicillin gene region, then obviously these cells will be resistant to tetracycline only, but these will be resistant to only one antibiotic. So these three cells we obtain here. You can see here, this is our master plate in which you can say that all the bacterial cells are there. Okay, all the host cells are there, and in this master plate we will have three types of cells. Non-transformed cells in which no plasmid is there, transformed cells with non-recombinant plasmid or non-recombinant vector you can say, and these are transformed cells with recombinant vector. Now, recombinant plasmids can be selected out from non-recombinant ones by plating the transformants on ampicillin medium. Now, we have discussed that selectable markers we use for selecting transformants from non-transformants, right? But we also need to select recombinants from non-recombinants, because we need only the recombinant one, right? Because only those are having the useful gene for us. That's why we with the help of selectable markers we select those also, right? So here how we can select those. So recombinant plasmids can be selected from non-recombinants by plating the transformants on ampicillin medium, because these transformants the transformants are those cells, those E. coli cells in which plasmid has been introduced. Okay, now we don't know that these are transformants having non-recombinant plasmid or having recombinant plasmid. We need to select those. Okay, that's why how we can select those, by growing these transformants on ampicillin medium. Okay. Then the transformants are transferred on tetracycline medium. And you know, on tetracycline medium, the recombinant one will not be able to grow, right? The recombinants grow in ampicillin medium, but not on tetracycline medium, right? Because the recombinants are having that alien piece of DNA in the tetracycline gene, and that has been inactivated. That's why the recombinants will not grow on tetracycline medium, but non-recombinants grow on medium containing both the antibiotics. So on this basis we can select the recombinants from non-recombinants from the transformants. Okay, we are having all the transformants first, and all these transformants we will transfer all these transformants on the ampicillin medium, right? And then on tetracycline medium. And when we will transfer these on tetracycline medium, we will be able to select recombinants from non-recombinants. We can say that one antibiotic resistance gene helps to select the transformants, and which one is that? Ampicillin. Okay, the inactivated antibiotic resistance gene helps to select recombinants. As you can see here, this is recombinant DNA because tetracycline gene is inactive here, and this is non-recombinant because tetracycline gene is active here. Now, transformation plate on ampicillin containing medium. First, what we do, we transfer the E. coli cells on ampicillin medium. Okay, and in this medium we can select transformants from non-transformants, and after that we replica plating we are doing here. This means on the same plate we are also making a replica plate, means two plates we are taking simultaneously, and another plate we are taking in a medium containing tetracycline. Okay, and here we can choose recombinants and non-recombinants. So these are transformed cells, as you can see, because this recombinant plasmid is present inside it, and these are non-transformed cells because recombinant plasmid is not present here. So what is done here? First of all, nutrient medium plus ampicillin. So after overnight growth, you can see here only ampicillin resistant colonies will grow here, means only the transformed cells will grow here. With the help of these antibiotic resistance genes, we can select transformants from non-transformants and recombinants from non-recombinants. But this type of selection of recombinants is a difficult procedure because it needs simultaneous plating on two plates having different antibiotics. As you have seen that there is need of simultaneous plating of these bacterial cells on ampicillin containing medium and one on tetracycline containing medium, right? So alternative selectable markers have developed based on their ability to produce color in presence of a chromogenic substrate. Chromogenic substrate means the substrate that is responsible for producing the color. When this substrate is used by enzyme, a color is produced, okay, and that type of substrate is called chromogenic substrate. So these type of markers will be alternative selectable markers, and about these markers we will discuss in next lecture. Now, based on today's topics, your homework is NCERT question number 3, and also make a well-labeled diagram of vector PBR322. Now let's discuss homework solution of previous lecture, and this is question number 7 of NCERT. Here you need to collect 5 examples of palindromic DNA sequences, and better you try to create a palindromic sequence by following base pair rules. So a sequence of DNA that reads the same, whether read from 5 prime to 3 prime or from 3 prime to 5 prime direction, is a palindromic sequence, right? So we will try to create the palindromic sequences here, right? The palindromic sequences for different enzymes you can learn from the previous lecture. I have given you example, but how to create palindromic sequences, we will study about that. So let's see how to create a palindromic sequence. As you know that these are read same from both direction. So if we are taking 5 prime and on this side, then we can write any nucleotide base here. First of all, write like we are writing G, then again G, then C. So you need to write any 3 nucleotides here first, okay? And after writing these 3 nucleotides, just write down the complementary of these. Like complementary of C you will write first, that will be G. Then you write the complementary of G and G, that will be C and C, right? And this is 3 prime end here. Okay, this is palindromic sequence is usually 6 nucleotide sequence. So you can write it like this, and after that in the complementary strand of the DNA, that will be having polarity 3 prime to 5 prime, means anti-parallel. Just write down the complementary of all these. Like complementary of G will be C, here again C, then G, here you will write complementary of G, that will be C, and here G and G, right? So here you can see this is palindromic sequence. If we write it from here, then it is GGC, GCC. So GGC, GCC, like in both direction you read it same. Now let's try one more. If we are writing from 5 prime direction, we are taking a sequence A, T, C. Okay, we have written these 3 nucleotides here. Then we will write the complementary of these. So first of all you will write the complementary of C, that will be G. Then write the complementary of T, that will be A. Then complementary of A, that will be T. And it will be 3 prime end, right? Then its anti-parallel strand having polarity 3 prime to 5 prime. And what you need to do now, just write the complementary of all these. Okay, so it will be T, A, after that G, complementary of C, right? And then complementary of G will be C, then complementary of A will be T, then complementary of this T will be A. So you can read it from both direction. It is same. It is like AT, CG, AT. So AT, CG, AT. This is the sequence from both directions. So this is how you can create the palindromic sequences. This is question number 8 of NCERT. Can you recall meiosis and indicate at what stage a recombinant DNA is made? So answer is a process involving a reduction in quantity of genetic material is termed as meiosis, right? Which is a type of cell division, and it occurs in 2 phases, meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. In Pachaitin stage, that is a substage of prophase 1, you can say. Prophase 1 means stage of meiosis 1. Okay, so in that, in Pachydien stage, chromosomes cross over, wherein exchange of segments between non-sister chromatids of homologous chromosomes occur. Okay, so here crossing over occurs in Pachydien stage, and during that crossing over, recombination occur. Recombination means exchange of genetic material between the non-sister chromatids of homologous chromosome, and this leads to formation of recombinant DNA in the process of meiosis. So this is how naturally in the process of meiosis recombinant DNA formation occur, means recombination of genetic material, you can say.